Well, good day, everyone, and a warm welcome to the Autumn Budget 2021 edition watch along, hosted and produced by, I'm going to say it, the Going Concern, because let's be honest, two of the main hosts here are from the Going Concern. That's right, everyone, you've heard it here first. The Going Concern will be back in the new year, so keep yourself hyped for that one. But today it's all about one man. It's about the man, the myth, the legend, Rishi Sunak, who is due to deliver, shall I say, what's been expected from the budget and help us as a nation recover from the pandemic. So we're really excited to see what is going to be announced. If, like me, you can get confused and leave the budget with more questions and answers than when you actually go in the first place, then this stream is just for you. Me and the other two experts are here to have the absolute pleasure of joining you for a watch along, with the opportunity at the end to give you a chance to ask any questions, talk about live, get our raw reaction to what's going on, and make sure that you are ready for what could have happened. So you have the power to ask questions, so use that chat box on the social platform of your choice. And in any event that you need to, we'll reach out for some clarification if we need to from later down the line. So hopefully you guys are watching and comfy and ready for this ride. Without further ado, let's get into the panel itself. My name is Aaron Patrick, and I am one of your hosts. I'm a chartered accountant, owner of an accounting firm called Bofix, a QuickBooks trainer, fancy new logo, and that QuickBooks chap on YouTube. And join me, as always, my first co-host is Rachel from Accountancy. So, Rachel, do you want to give a bit of an insight who you are and how people can find you and why you're excited for today?
I'm very, very, very excited to see our good friend Rishi, firstly, also to be joined by Aaron and Lucy. But my name is Rachel, and I am the founder of Accountant She and director of the wonderful accountancy practice, Strivex Accountants. I would absolutely love to see you on my Instagram and my YouTube channel, both of which the handle is accountant_she. And I guess that's moving us pretty swiftly on to Lucy.
Hiya! So I'm Lucy. I'm a qualified accountant and the owner of Islebookkeep, a newly established bookkeeping and accounting firm based on the Isle of Wight. So we help people move from paper-based systems to paperless systems, and yeah, we take the stress out of accounting. Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Anytime, Lucy. And you're one of the newest members to the Ask the Expert family as well, aren't you? So yeah. I'm actually really excited to see what you're going to take of this budget, and, you know, being a quote-unquote newbie as well, I think that's going to be quite a nice insight for the rest of us into what's going on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from Rishi.
Rishi.
Is he still technically Dishy Rishi, or is that been dropped now? Is that a thing of the past? Anyway, for another day. Then finally, I was about to introduce another guest we haven't got, so let's move on from that one. With the rumours of the budget that could massively affect, though, personal investments, we want to make sure that this isn't just about accounting. So we're going to be trying to make sure that if the rumours come true, and more about those rumours in a minute, that we do have a intake or a look into how that could affect personal investment. So even if you haven't got a business, this budget could well be informed for you. So I think you'll all agree we've got a great little panel around for today, and I think it's now time to let you know how this will all work. So first of all, we're going to go through some predictions. We're going to go from either nice straightforward predictions that are probably going to be definitely going to happen, to some more outlandish ones that we will hopefully put there, and hopefully Rishi himself won't steal and bring into play, because some of them would actually be quite negative going forward. And then we're going to have and watch along of the budget itself. Rishi will take it away. We're going to be watching along with you guys. Hopefully, fingers crossed, YouTube's not going to kick the stream down or anything like that, but we'll see what happens as we go along. And then we'll be able to make sure that we can understand exactly what's going on. We'll have a small chit chat during the watch along, but more importantly, after the actual budget itself, we're going to have a quick recap for you all and give you some live reactions, some live insights into what's happened, and trying to explain exactly how that can affect you and your business. So before we get underway and talk about your questions and anything else that we've got, a very, very quick disclaimer. just making sure that everyone's aware that this is a live and uncut. We are not got any pre-announcements. We don't know anything that could be actually happening within the budget itself. So please, just like last budget, where super deductions through everyone for a penny, and we weren't 100% exactly sure how that's going to work. As they always say, devil was in the detail. Then please make sure that you take some of what we say today with a pinch of salt. And if there is anything that we do have a misinterpretation of, or that we've got anything completely wrong, we are sure to let you know via the social channels as we go along. But we promise you, we will make sure that we keep up to date as much as possible. And don't fear as well, because you lot are there to tell us, as the live studio audience, as a live audience, anything that we need to know. So if there is anything that we get wrong, please jump on those social channels, let us know, and we'll make sure everyone is done. So that's my small little disclaimer out of the way as we go forward. So prediction time, people. Let's start off with Lucy. Let's go first. Lucy, give me one prediction you think is nice and safe and probably going to be okay, and one a little bit more outlandish. Go for it.
Okay, so my safe prediction is that the national minimum wage will increase. We've already heard a little bit about like the living wage increasing, so it's very likely that the national minimum wage will increase as well. You ready for my outlandish one?
Go for it.
So the outlandish one is basically directors' salaries. Imagine them if Rishi turns around and says to us, they have to be, you have to pay national minimum wage on your director's salary. I think a lot of people will be safe to say that will affect a lot of people and be quite an uproar.
Yeah, I can see the tears now, can't you? Yeah, great little prediction there. I think, first of all, on that, like, national minimum wage, I won't get on my soapbox now. We'll talk about what happens and everything else. But for small businesses, we've just got to be a little bit careful, haven't we? We want to make sure that whatever the national minimum wage is set to, that it's something that is affordable for small businesses. That's what we care about. That's what we're going to fight for. But yeah, if you're right on that prediction, Lucy, there's going to be a lot of crying going forward. What do you think, Rachel? What's your opinion to those predictions?
Yeah, pretty spot on. I think I'm really excited to see some changes to living wage. I think not only as a small business owner, but also as an employer. I don't think any of us went to university, and we all sort of trained as apprentices. And so like minimum wage is something that has affected me quite a lot throughout my like studying, and like being paid the apprenticeship minimum wage at £3 an hour is something that's actually had a huge impact on the way that we run our business, because I never wanted anybody to feel like that again. So yeah, there's different sides to it. You know, there's us as business owners and as accountants, and then there's also as employers. So yeah, we're really excited to see some changes to the living wage and minimum wage.
Brilliant. Rachel, what are your predictions? What's your safe bet and your outlandish one?
So my safe bet is kind of surrounding capital gains. So there are some rumours circulating. I think Aaron Patrick might have started them, but there's some rumours circulating that Rishi might try and bring capital gains tax more in line with income tax. So for anybody that doesn't know, capital gains tax is tax on the profit that you make when you sell something. So only the gain is taxed, not the total cash that you receive. And it has been for quite a long time rumoured that he is considering bringing capital gains tax rates and bands more in line with income tax bands. So this could mean a switch to a 20% rate for people within the basic rate, 40% for the higher bracket, and then 45% for the additional bracket as well. I don't have any super outlandish claims, but there's a couple of other extra bits that I'm quite excited to see. I'm excited to see, I feel like this is probably the first budget that wasn't in firefighting mode through the pandemic. So I'm quite excited to see any changes and implementations to the budget regarding the NHS. And then also from an employer's perspective and business owner's perspective, I'm quite keen to see where the investment surrounding like training and education for young people falls, because we use the apprenticeship levy quite heavily within our business, and it's made a huge impact to the way that we run the business. So I would be really keen to see if there are plans to extend that, and even little bits and bobs like the Kickstart scheme for all of our clients and small business owners, the apprenticeship scheme, the Kickstart scheme. We're going to be really keen to see what happens.
Wonderful. Nice one, Rachel. Nice one. And I think with what you said there, I think it's going to be interesting, isn't it, with that capital gains? Because I think not only will it be the fact of what's been taxed, but I think if the rumours are true, I think we're going to see a lot more people get caught by capital gains. And especially with everyone now jumping on the bandwagon of stocks, crypto, and everything else.
I was just going to say crypto
really
to you. Aaron is a
Yeah.
cryptopreneur. What do you think about crypto and capital gains?
Yeah, that worries me, because I don't know how many you've gone through now of trying to actually get a tax return done for someone who is dealing with crypto at the moment. But it's a wild west out there at the moment. So bringing more people into it, which is ultimately what they're going to do, isn't it? They're going to want to have a slice of that pie. You can understand it. It makes sense. It's a part of the economy that they could easily tap into. But yeah, from a personal point of view, in terms of trying to just account for it, I think it's going to be a nightmare. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what the rumors come out on. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting prediction, that one. My two predictions. My first one is, I mean, you kind of stole it from me, to be honest. My first one was that the apprenticeship scheme. Let's see that there's some sort of enhancement to that in terms of let's keep on that positivity about trying to encourage more apprenticeships through the system, Kickstarter and all them. Let's extend that. I think it did a really positive way. I think there was a nice bit of extra incentive to bring apprentices through the system, and I think that's more that the better. And then my outlandish one, I'm going to steal from No Can for Taste, so the podcast I was on just last week. And imagine, again, going down this whole capital gain, going down there, imagine the world where, just like we have with the houses, that as soon as you sell your second property, you then have to declare it within 30 days, 6 days, whichever one it is. Imagine they did that for crypto and stocks as well. Every capital gain you have to record on a almost real-time basis. Yeah, let's hope Rishi doesn't actually put that into fruition, because that would be an absolute nightmare. But let's see what happens. But that's my prediction for what's going forward. So it's almost time. Is everyone excited, ready for this one? I think the first thing to kind of make everyone aware of is we're not really expecting much radical changes, are we, on this one? This one should be quite famous last words, but yeah, we're not expecting radical changes, fingers crossed, hopefully. But it is still going to be interesting to see what gets announced, isn't it?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest points for this is a couple of people mentioned that we were running the show today, and they were really, really excited about just having a platform to ask questions. So if anything is mentioned, if any big words that you don't understand or any changes that are made that you're not quite sure, whichever hat you've got on at that moment, either as a parent, as a business owner, as an employer, whatever's being spoken about, if you'd like some more guidance and support, pop some questions and comments in the comments box, and we can chat about them while we're live. So make sure you get your money's worth of us being live today.
Perfect. And Lucy, what do you think? Do you think did you watch the last budget? Was that something that kind of threw you for a spanner with everything that was announced then, or?
So do you mean recently the
last budget? Yeah.
Yeah, so some of it surprised me. Most of it was kind of to be expected. A lot of it's just, the increases and, but yeah, certainly with COVID, everything's kind of getting back to normality now. And I think it's more about, okay, well, we're getting back to an economy that a post-pandemic economy. And I guess, where is that money going to go that we're raising? I think that's going to be really, really interesting to find out. So yeah,
I think that's
looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be good. I still can't, for me, budgets have always been something that we watch and we take notes on, and we work towards, and we get that content out to clients. And it's always been, as an accountant, it's always been something that we have to watch, we have to take in, and then we have to kind of react to accordingly. But I felt like the last budget was a big turning point. I think there was a lot more things that happened there, and so much reactions that needed to be made because of it, which is why we've decided to go down the live route and try and react like this now, because a lot of the times, especially at the moment with everything that's going on, we need that awareness. We need people to be more aware of what that means and how that's going to be. The amount of people that the budget happened and then you caught up with, and they weren't even aware that XYZ had happened or XYZ meant for them, I think it's really important, because we still don't really know how free ports and all that sort of stuff is going to come into play, and there's all those kind of question marks still there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's not as as like I said, without jinxing it, I hope it's not as cutthroat as last time, and there's kind of so many elements that we need to bring in and change and we've got to adapt for. But I think there's definitely room to change the system a little bit, and I think some of them will be for better, some of them will be for worse, but I can imagine it will even itself out overall, won't it?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I grew up as an accountant with, you just sort of have it on your screen and you just sort of be watching the rolling titles on like BBC or ITV at the bottom, and you weren't really paying attention to it. You were just sort of like making some notes. But like last time, oh hell, it was like bloody Love Island final. I was sat on the edge of my seat, like having to remind myself to breathe, because you're there like, oh my God, like how can we translate this information? How can we deliver it in a way that is supportive and engaging? And yeah, it was a lot, but the economy is a lot right now. And so, a lot of the changes were necessary, but as long as there's no curveballs, we'll be okay. Trust in Rishi, everybody.
Trust in Rishi.
Hashtag, let's get that hashtag going.
Can we discuss the fact that Aaron has suited up for this occasion today?
Glad someone noticed. That's what it is. Yeah, I was going to exactly go by his exact attire, and I was going to try and mimic it, but no.
Where's your briefcase?
Didn't have the time.
Briefcase pick.
I was actually going to get the ember out, so I don't know if you've seen that he always has one of those embers, so one of those tea coffee machine, coffee cups that warms itself up and everything. But
oh wow,
time didn't go my way.
Last time
Wonderful.
I saw him, he was in socks and sandals. When was
this?
This was on one of the last kind of talks he done. It was a little update on the news, and I thought, we're wearing socks and sandals. Somebody very clearly pointed that out as well. I know. Yeah.
So basically, we're allowed to wear socks and sandals now. It's now fashionably acceptable. Is that what you're saying?
Rishi says.
Never. So Aaron, if anyone's like watching and they've actually not like tuned in live to a budget before, what is the can you map out exactly what the budget, like how long it lasts for, what format does it take, just to sort of like chat to people if this is the first time people are tuning in?
Yeah, exactly right. And great point out there. So we don't know how long this one should be lasting for. They normally last half an hour, don't they, to 45 minutes, just depending on what they're going to bring in. But basically what we're interested in, the bit that we're going to be concentrating on, is when Rishi gets up and starts delivering his speech. So at the moment, just so you all know, I'm watching it now. They're in the Commons at the moment. They're debating between bits and pieces and moving between. And yeah, they're very, very interesting, very, very important, but actually not what we're here for, not what we actually worry about. But at some point, and you can see Rishi now, he's there with his mask on in the Commons, ready and waiting. And as soon as he stands up, that's when we will be bringing in. And that's what we're going to be taking notes on. And that's what we're going to be listening for going forward. So it should be good. I'm looking forward to it. And if it's anything like last time, like Rachel said, it's there should be some really interesting aspects to take away from it. I'm not sure it is Love Island.
Sometime we should go to London, just to feel the atmosphere next time.
So you're saying that the next time we do this, we're doing it outside of
live from Downing Street. Yeah, to you, Aaron.
Downing Street. We're getting in Downing Street now, are we? Okay.
Never say never, Aaron. Come on.
So I've chosen BBC for our coverage of today, but there are other platforms of choice out there. And if you are watching along with us, again, we're hoping that we can just put it on screen and everything's going to work perfectly. But if not, do make sure that you've got a way of watching it yourself as well. Worst case scenario, we'll just have our wonderful faces on screen and you can see how our reactions are. So when Rachel jumps up for joy at, the apprenticeship scheme being pushed forward, or whether it's going to be. So we've got a little bit of time to go forward. And just thinking back to trying to make this more interactive for next time round. Again, just time that kind of got in our way. But what's your opinion / idea that next time around we do this, we do a bingo sheet that everyone can join in and follow along on. Let's try. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm hoping next time around we can get this all set up and all ready and waiting. But yeah, the idea that we could have a nice little bingo sheet going forward is could actually be quite an exciting one. Especially with the common phrases that we know is going to get said at some point, we could get that.
Yeah, that could be a good idea.
That would be like such a good way to get a lot of like younger people interested in the budget.
Yeah.
Like make them listen to it without making them realize that they're listening to it. Bingo. Like they should do it in schools, you know, like make everybody play budget bingo.
Budget bingo. So we are 5 minutes away from what we can tell. It looks like there's no delays from the looks of it at the moment. Yeah, it looks like there's no delays as such. So 5 minute warning.
Can I do a shout out if we have 2 minutes?
Go for it.
Okay, my youngest ever, I was going to say fan. My youngest ever fan turned 5 yesterday. So I have to say happy birthday to Arthur for Wednesday. He turned 5 on Wednesday, so happy birthday, Arthur. Yeah, he's my youngest fan, and he sent me like a poster in the post. He drew me a picture, and it was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday, Arthur! That is fantastic. That's brilliant. 5. So, what is Arthur looking to be an accountant? Like just like Robert Spencer here, is Arthur looking to be an accountant?
100% on track to be an accountant. Yeah, he actually really loves maths as well, which I think is why he loves watching our videos.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah.
Starting young.
So, Robert.
Yes, who wants to take that question from Robert Spencer?
All right. So, Robert's asked, while we wait, can you all give a quick brief? All right, Robert. Brief on how you got into accounting. I feel like a lot of people get into accounting accidentally. Like a lot of people say, like, I never really meant to be an accountant. I was just good at maths. Yes, I mentioned briefly earlier that I did an apprenticeship scheme. So I did A-levels, and as soon as I finished my A-levels, I took an apprenticeship scheme at my local council and worked in their finance department and just sort of worked my way up through various different roles in industry and practice, from an apprentice to an accounts assistant to a junior accountant to a senior accountant to a management accountant. And yeah, and then just took the leap. And now we're here, and it's been a wild ride. What about you, Lucy?
So I was very similar. I was doing kind of admin jobs. I then got an admin job opportunity in an accountancy practice. So took the leap and did all my apprenticeships, and then I went from practice to industry and then back to practice. So yeah.
Amazing. So Lucy, was it AAT that you did this apprenticeship?
Yeah. So I started off on an apprenticeship on my AAT. And then I carried on my levels kind of on my own, and then
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
And then for me, it was pretty much the same as Rachel, really. I started as an apprenticeship. I, like Rachel says, I didn't want to be an accountant, never wanted to be an accountant. That was never going to be the brief. Did work experience, really quite enjoyed work experience, got offered the job there, took on an apprenticeship, and just working my way since then. And yeah, it's kind of, I think if anyone is listening here, and do remember the Going Concern, I'm going to put another plug out for there, but the Going Concern is the best place to be to figure out how to be an accountant and why. So do look at season 1. We went through this in a lot of detail over there. But yeah, the apprenticeship route is by far some of the best ways of getting yourself involved and getting yourself into the world of accountancy. It's just, as an employer, as an employee, and going through that system, I can't recommend it enough.
It's just efficient, doing an apprenticeship scheme to be an accountant. You could do 3 years of accounting, and it would get you a couple of exemptions, but actually you would really start in the same sort of entry-level job roles as somebody that has no qualification and is just leaving school. And I think for all 3 of us, actually, as small business owners that are looking to hire in the near future, it's so much more about personality. Is it gone live?
Not yet, no. I'm still watching.
Okay. Yeah, it's so much more about like personality, passion, drive, and so there's so many like really valuable extracurricular bits that you could do, like tune into the Going Concern, ask your questions, ask for some career advice, talk about exams, build a network, and like surround yourself with content that's really like exciting for you.
I know you say it a lot, Rachel, and you're absolutely right. It is a lot of the fact that at this moment in time, you're on a really good time to want to become an accountant and understand what accounting actually is, because it's changed drastically from when we first kind of started out to, it was just there was no way of knowing what it was like really until you got your feet in the door and found out. But now,
whereas now there's like so much YouTube content.
Yeah, made for by mostly people that we know in our email group. But yeah, it's a good little community now, and I think the more we can do that and the more we can push that forward, it's going to be better for everyone. So yeah, it's all good. Are they about to get ready? So if they are, I will go very quiet. It looks like he's getting himself ready. So
Rishi.
You won't be able to hear me as much if that. Oh no, we've gone off to BBC at the moment. So, it's on screen. That's fine. We'll stay at this view for now. And as soon as Rishi gets on, I will turn up the volume so we can all hear and carry on from there. But again, we won't be talking too much during this time. We're going to be taking our notes. We're going to get ready to recap. You'll see our raw reactions to it. But let's make sure that we give Rishi the limelight he deserves and make sure that we can make the most of his insight, and we can go from there. Oh, exciting. Shortly still. Ooh. By the way, whoever gets the predictions or the most predictions right, there's a prize available. So, I should have said that first, but,
I feel cheated.
Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit so we can listen to the intro from BBC, and then we will be back in, I'm hoping it's half an hour this one, but it might be 45 minutes, and we will give you the reactions and the recap from there. So everyone, have a good budget.
Find out if anybody else
Yes.
is testing positive.
Rachel Reeves is apparently tested negative for
That's
COVID.
the Shadow
And
Chancellor.
she will be doing the budget response, because by awkward tradition, it's normally the leader of the opposition that does the budget response. The worst round of mastermind ever for a politician.
Yes.
But Keir Starmer, I think, will actually be really frustrated not to be able to do that today.
Absolutely. As you say, not an easy job, of course,
No.
to respond to the government, to the Chancellor on Budget Day. But certainly they wouldn't have wanted this
Absolutely
to
not.
unfold
No, it's
so
a
close,
huge
of course,
political
to
moment.
the moment. But
Absolutely.
Rachel Reeves will have her chance, the Shadow Chancellor, to step into Keir Starmer's shoes and give that response. Of course, she will have been pretty well briefed on everything, and she knows the sort of material that is going to be dealt with.
that's
But
right.
still, having to step up and do that at the last minute isn't easy.
It's a huge moment for her. Normally what you see, though, is the Shadow Chancellor whispering in the ear of the leader of the opposition throughout the budget, trying to sort of help them look out for potential traps or potential political opportunities for them. Rachel Reeves, though, she's these days, she's a very well-respected figure. She was a former
veteran
economist at the Bank of England. There are no flies on Rachel Reeves, so I don't think she'll be caught out on any of the detail. But it is a nightmare of a political moment to handle, even if you are the most expert economist in all of Westminster.
Well, meanwhile, you can see the chamber there, as we said early on, pretty packed. Interesting to note, masks being worn. They did seem to be more prevalent on the Conservative benches. They have been on the Labour benches. You could see the Prime Minister being flanked by the Justice Secretary, Dominic Raab, and Rishi Sunak, obviously the Chancellor, who will be standing up very soon to deliver his budget. And here he is.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I've heard your words and those of Mr. Speaker. I have the greatest respect for you both, and I want to assure you that I have listened very carefully to what you have said. And may I also, Madam Deputy Speaker, send my best wishes to the Leader of the Opposition, and I know the whole House will join me in doing that. And now, with your permission, Madam Deputy Speaker, let me turn to today's budget. Madam Deputy Speaker, employment is up. Investment is growing. Public services are improving, the public finances are stabilising, and wages are rising. Today's budget delivers a stronger economy for the British people, stronger growth with the UK recovering faster than our major competitors, stronger public finances with our debt under control, stronger employment with fewer people out of work and more people in work. Growth up, jobs up and debt down. Let there be no doubt our plan is working. Madam Deputy Speaker, this budget is about what this government is about. Investment in a more innovative, high-skilled economy, because that is the only sustainable path to individual prosperity. World-class public services, because these are the common goods from which we all benefit. Backing business, because our future cannot be built by government alone, but must come from the imagination and drive of our entrepreneurs. Help for working families with the cost of living, because we will always give people the support they need and the tools to build a better life for themselves. And levelling up, because for too long, far too long, the location of your birth has determined too much of your future, because the awesome power of opportunity shouldn't be available only to a wealthy few, but be the birthright of every child in an independent and prosperous United Kingdom. Madam Deputy Speaker, today's budget does not draw a line under COVID. We have challenging months ahead. And let me encourage everyone eligible to get their booster jabs as soon as possible. But today's budget does begin the work of preparing for a new economy post-COVID. The Prime Minister's economy of higher wages, higher skills and rising productivity, of strong public services, vibrant communities and safer streets, an economy fit for a new age of optimism, where the only limit to our potential is the effort we are prepared to put in and the sacrifices we are prepared to make. That is the stronger economy of the future, and this budget is the foundation. Madam Deputy Speaker, the House will recognise the challenging backdrop of rising inflation. Let me begin by carefully explaining what is happening in our economy and why. Inflation in September was 3.1% and is likely to rise further, with the OBR expecting CPI to average 4% over the next year. The majority of this rise in inflation can be explained by two global forces. First, as economies around the world reopen, demand for goods has increased more quickly than supply chains can meet. Having been shut down for almost a year, it takes time for factories to scale up production, for container ships to move goods to where demand is, for businesses to hire the people they need. And second, global demand for energy has surged at a time when supplies have already been disrupted, putting a strain on prices. In the year to September, the global wholesale price of oil, coal, and gas combined has more than doubled. The pressures caused by supply chains and energy prices will take months to ease. It would be irresponsible for anyone to pretend that we can solve this overnight. I am in regular communication with finance ministers around the world, and it's clear these are shared global problems, neither unique to the UK nor possible for us to address on our own. But where the government can ease these pressures, we will act. To address the driver shortage, the Transport Secretary is introducing temporary visas, tackling testing backlogs, changing cabotage requirements, and is today announcing new funding to improve lorry park facilities. We've already suspended the HGV levy until August, and I can do more today, extending it for a further year until 2023 and freezing vehicle excise duty for heavy goods vehicles. To help with the cost of living, we've introduced a new £500 million household support fund. And today's budget will support working families further. And in terms of our fiscal policy, we are going to meet our commitments on public services and capital investment, but we are going to do so keeping in mind the need to control inflation. And finally, I have written to the Governor of the Bank of England today to reaffirm their remit to achieve low and stable inflation. And people should be reassured they have a strong track record in doing so. I understand people are concerned about global inflation, but they have a government here at home ready and willing to act. And Madam Deputy Speaker, in a period of global uncertainty, you need to work hard to maintain a strong economy and be responsible with the public finances, and that is what we are doing. I'm grateful to the OBR for their work, and I'm pleased to say they now expect our recovery to be quicker. Thanks to this government's actions, they forecast the economy to return to its pre-COVID level at the turn of the year, earlier than they thought in March. Growth this year is revised up from 4 to 6.5%. The OBR then expect the economy to grow by 6% in 2022 and 2.1, 1.3 and 1.6% over the next 3 years. In July last year, at the height of the pandemic, unemployment was expected to peak at 12%. Today, the OBR expect unemployment to peak at just 5.2%. That means over 2 million fewer people out of work than previously feared. And wages are rising. Compared to February 2020, they have grown in real terms by almost 3.5%. And I can confirm for the House, the OBR's forecast for business investment has been revised up over the next 5 years. And because of the actions we took to support our economy, we have been more successful than previously feared in preventing the long-term economic damage of COVID. The OBR have today revised down their scarring assumption from 3% to 2%. In the depths of the worst economic crisis on record, we set out a plan for jobs, a plan that was backed by business groups and trade bodies, a plan that has helped millions of people and saved millions of jobs, a plan that the OBR have today described as remarkably successful. Madam Deputy Speaker, today's forecast confirmed beyond doubt our plan for jobs is working. And Madam Deputy Speaker, disruption in the global economy highlights the importance of strong public finances. Coronavirus left us with borrowing higher than at any time since the Second World War. As the Prime Minister reminded us in his conference speech, higher borrowing today is just higher interest rates and even higher taxes tomorrow. So we need to strengthen our public finances so that when the next crisis comes, we have the fiscal space to act. Today, I am publishing a new Charter for Budget Responsibility. The Charter sets out 2 fiscal rules which will keep this government on the path of discipline and responsibility. First, underlying public sector net debt, excluding the impact of the Bank of England, must, as a percentage of GDP, be falling. Second, in normal times, the state should only borrow to invest in our future growth and prosperity. Everyday spending must be paid through taxation. Both rules must be met by the 3rd year of every forecast period, giving us the flexibility to respond to crises while credibly keeping our public finances under control. These rules are supplemented by targets to spend up to 3% of GDP on capital investment and keep welfare spending on a sustainable path. Madam Deputy Speaker, the House will be asked to vote on our Charter, giving members a simple choice: to abandon our fiscal anchor and leave our economy adrift with reckless, unfunded pledges, or to vote for what we on this side of the House know is the right course: sound public finances and a stronger economy for the British people. Madam Deputy Speaker, important as the Charter is, our credibility comes as much from what we do as what we say. So I'm pleased to tell the House that because our plan is delivering a stronger economy, and because we've taken tough but responsible decisions on public finances, the OBR report today that all our fiscal rules have been met. Underlying debt is forecast to be 85.2% of GDP this year, then 85.4% of GDP in 22-23, before peaking at 85.7% in 23-24. It then falls in the final 3 years of the forecast from 85.1 to 83.3%. Borrowing as a percentage of GDP is forecast to fall in every single year, from 7.9% this year to 3.3% next, then 2.4, 1.7, 1.7, and 1.5% in the following years. Borrowing down, debt down, proving once again it is the Conservatives and only the Conservatives who can be trusted with taxpayers' money. Madam Deputy Speaker, I have made 4 fiscal judgments in this budget. First, we will meet our fiscal rules with a margin to protect ourselves against economic risks. That is the responsible decision at a time of increasing global economic uncertainty. When our public finances are twice as sensitive to changes in interest rates as they were before the pandemic, and 6 times as sensitive as they were before the financial crisis. Just a 1 percentage point in inflation and interest rates would cost us around £23 billion. My second judgment today is to continue supporting working families. Third, as well as helping people at home, our improving fiscal situation means we will meet our obligations to the world's poorest. I told the House that we met our fiscal tests, we would return to spending 0.7% of our national income on overseas aid. Some people said this was a trick or a device. I told this House it was no such thing. And based on the tests I set out, today's forecasts show that we are, in fact, scheduled to return to 0.7 in 24-25 before the end of this Parliament. And Madam Deputy Speaker, my fourth fiscal judgment is this. Today's budget increases total departmental spending over this Parliament by £150 billion. That's the largest increase this century, with spending growing by 3.8% a year in real terms. As a result of this spending review, and contrary to speculation, there will be a real terms rise in overall spending for every single department. And public sector net investment as a share of GDP will be at the highest sustained level for nearly half a century. If anybody still doubts it, today's budget confirms the Conservatives are the real party of public services. Madam Deputy Speaker, our stronger economy lays the foundation for everything we want to achieve in today's budget. World-class public services and more investment in our future growth. Before I turn to the details, I'd like to thank my right honourable friend, the Chief Secretary. Yeah. Completing the spending review in such challenging circumstances was a tall order, and thankfully we had just the man for the job. Madam Deputy Speaker, at the start of this Parliament, resource spending on healthcare was £133 billion. Today's spending review confirms that by the end of this Parliament, it will increase by £44 billion to over £177 billion. And the extra revenue we're forecast to raise from the health and social care levy is going direct to the NHS and social care as promised. The health capital budget will be the largest since 2010. Record investment in health R&D, including better newborn screening, as campaigned for by the member for the cities of London and Westminster. 40 new hospitals, 70 hospital upgrades, more operating theatres to tackle the backlog, and 100 community diagnostic centres. All staffed by a bigger, better trained workforce with 50,000 more nurses and 50 million more primary care appointments. As well as funding to deliver the Prime Minister's historic reforms to social care, we're providing local government with new grant funding over the next 3 years of £4.8 billion, the largest increase in core funding for over a decade. And we're investing more in housing and home ownership too, with a multi-year housing settlement totaling nearly £24 billion. 11.5 billion to build up to the 180,000 new affordable homes, the largest cash investment in a decade, 20% larger than the previous programme. And we're investing an extra £1.8 billion, enough to bring 1,500 hectares of brownfield land into use, meet our commitment to invest £10 billion in new housing, and unlock 1 million new homes. We're also confirming £5 billion to remove unsafe cladding from the highest risk buildings, partly funded by the Residential Property Developers Tax, which I can confirm will be levied on developers with profits over £25 million at a rate of 4%. And we've also reduced rough sleeping by over a third, but we will go further, with £640 million a year for rough sleeping and homelessness, an 85% increase in funding compared to 2019. Madam Deputy Speaker, today's budget funds our ambition to recruit 20,000 new police officers, provides an extra £2.2 billion for courts, prisons and probation services, including £0.5 billion to reduce the court's backlog, pays for programmes to tackle neighbourhood crime, reoffending, county lines, violence against women and girls, victim services, and improved responses to rape cases. And over the next 3 years, commits £3.8 billion to the largest prison building programme in a generation. Madam Deputy Speaker, all governments should aspire to provide greater life chances for future generations. But few governments can match our ambition. So let me now turn to what this budget does to support children. The evidence is compelling that the first 1,001 days of a child's life are the most important. My right honourable friend, the member for South Northamptonshire, has recognised this with her inspirational report. And we are responding today with £300 million for a Start for Life offer for families, high-quality parenting programmes, tailored services to help with perinatal mental health. And I'm pleased to tell the member for Congleton funding to create a network of family hubs around the country too, to improve the quality of childcare. We're going to pay providers more, with today's spending review providing an extra £170 million by 24-25. We're confirming £150 million to support training and development for the entire early years workforce to help up to 300,000 more families facing multiple needs. We're investing an extra £200 million in the Supporting Families programme, and we will provide over £200 million a year to continue the holiday, activity and food programme. Today's spending review also delivers our commitment to schools with an extra £4.7 billion by 24-25, which combined with the ambitious plans we announced at the spending review of 2019 will restore per pupil funding to 2010 levels in real terms, equivalent to a cash increase for every pupil of more than £1,500. And for children with special educational needs and disabilities, we are more than tripling the amount we invest to create 30,000 8,000 new school places. And we know that the pandemic caused significant disruption to children's learning. We've already announced £3.1 billion to help education recovery. Today, as promised by the Prime Minister and the Education Secretary, we will go further with just under £2 billion of new funding to help schools and colleges, bringing this government's total support for education recovery to almost £5 billion. Madam Deputy Speaker, as we level up public services, we are also levelling up communities, restoring the pride people feel in the places they call home. To do that, we're providing £560 million for youth services, enough to fund up to 300 youth clubs across the country, over £200 million to build or transform 8,000 state-of-the-art community football pitches across the UK, funding to turn over 100 areas of derelict land into new pocket parks, and I'm allocating the first round of bids from the Levelling Up Fund. £1.7 billion to invest in the infrastructure of everyday life in over 100 local areas, with £170 million in Scotland, £120 million in Wales, and £50 million in Northern Ireland, more than their Barnet shares. This will benefit the whole United Kingdom. We are backing projects in Aberdeen, Bury, Burnley, Lewes, Clwyd South, and not one, not two, but 3 successful projects for the great city of Stoke-on-Trent. But that's not all. We're also going to fund projects in Ashton-under-Lyne, South Leicester, Sunderland, Doncaster, and West Leeds. Madam Deputy Speaker, we are so committed to levelling up, we are even levelling up the opposition front bench. Madam Deputy Speaker, levelling up is also about protecting our unique culture and heritage. The British Museum, Tate Liverpool, the York Railway Museum, we're investing £800 million to protect museums, galleries, libraries, and local culture. And thanks to the Culture Secretary, over 100 regional museums and libraries will be renovated, restored, and revived. And she secured up to £2 million to start work on a new Beatles attraction on the Liverpool waterfront. We're also going to review our museum freedoms and make our creative tax reliefs more generous. On current plans, the tax relief for museums and galleries is due to end in March next year, just as exhibitions are starting to tour again. So I've decided to extend it for 2 years to March 2024. And to support theatres, orchestras, museums and galleries to recover from COVID, the tax reliefs for all those sectors from today until April 2023 will be doubled, and they won't return to the normal rate until April 2024. That's a tax relief for culture worth almost £250 million. And Madam Deputy Speaker, this is a budget for the whole United Kingdom. Through the Barnett formula, today's decisions increase Scottish Government funding in each year by an average of £4.6 billion. Welsh Government funding by £2.5 billion and £1.6 billion for the Northern Ireland Executive. This delivers in real terms the largest block grants for the devolved administration since the devolution settlements of 1998. The whole of the United Kingdom will benefit from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and over time we will ramp up funding so that total domestic UK-wide funding will match EU receipts, averaging around £1.5 billion a year. And we will fund projects across the UK, including funding for the Extreme E race in Scotland, the 22 Hebrides X-Prix, accelerating funding for the Cardiff City Region deal in Wales, and funding in Northern Ireland for community cohesion. And whilst today demonstrates the indisputable fiscal benefit of being part of the United Kingdom. This is and always will be secondary to the simple truth that we are bound together by more than transactional benefit. It is our collective history, our culture, and our security. We are and always will be one family, one United Kingdom. Madam Deputy Speaker, whilst today's budget delivers historically high levels of public spending, its success will be measured not by the billions we spend, but by the outcomes we achieve and the difference we make to people's lives. The budgets are set, the plans are in place, the task is clear. Now we must deliver, because this isn't the government's money, it's taxpayers' money. Madam Deputy Speaker, our stronger economy allows us to fund world-class public services, the people's priority. But over the long term, the only way to pay for higher spending is economic growth. And if we want to see higher growth, we've got to tackle the problem that's been holding back this country for far too long, our uneven economic geography. As we come out of the worst economic shock we've ever seen, we've got a choice: to retrench or to invest. This government chooses to invest. To invest in our economic infrastructure, to invest in innovation, to invest in skills, to invest in a plan for growth that builds a stronger economy for the future. That's what this budget is about, and that's what this government is about. Madam Deputy Speaker, infrastructure connects our country, drives productivity, and levels up. That's why our national infrastructure strategy invests in economic infrastructure like roads, railways, broadband, and mobile, over £130 billion. To connect our towns and cities, we're investing £21 billion on roads and £46 billion on railways.
Oh no, Rishi.
Our integrated rail plan will be published soon, dramatically improving journey times between our towns and cities.
Don't worry.
And today, we're providing £5.7 billion for London-style transport settlements in Greater Manchester, the Liverpool City region, the Tees Valley, South Yorkshire, West Midlands, and the West of England. And we're helping local transport everywhere, with £2.6 billion for a long-term pipeline of over 50 local roads upgrades, over £5 billion for local roads maintenance, enough to fill 1 million more potholes a year, and funding for buses, cycling and walking, totaling more than £5 billion. The Prime Minister promised an infrastructure revolution. This budget delivers an infrastructure revolution. Investment in our infrastructure is just the first step. We need to do what the people of this country have always done: invent, discover, and create the ideas and technologies that will change the world. So we will also invest more in innovation. The UK is already a world leader. With less than 1% of the world's population, we have 4 of the world's top 20 universities, 14% of the world's most impactful research, and the second most Nobel laureates. We want to go further. I can confirm we will maintain our target to increase R&D investment to £22 billion. But in order to get there and deliver on our other priorities, we'll reach the target in 26-27, spending by the end of this Parliament £20 billion a year on R&D. That's a cash increase of 50%, the fastest increase ever. And I can confirm for the House that this £20 billion is in addition to the cost of our R&D tax reliefs. Combined with those tax reliefs, total public investment in R&D is increasing from 0.7% of GDP in 2018 to 1.1% of GDP by the end of the Parliament. How does 1.1% compare internationally? Well, the latest available data shows an OECD average of just 0.7%. Germany investing 0.9%, France 1%, and the United States just 0.7%. This unprecedented funding will increase core science funding to £5.9 billion per year by 24-25, a cash increase of 37%. Meet the full cost of associating with Horizon Europe, establish the new Advanced Research and Invention Agency with £800 million by 25-26, and strengthen our focus on late-stage innovation, increasing Innovate UK's annual core budget to £1 billion, double what it was at the start of this Parliament. Madam Deputy Speaker, there's more to becoming a science superpower than just what the government spends on R&D. Our ambitious net zero strategy is also an innovation strategy, investing £30 billion to create the new green industries of the future. We've just issued our second green bond, making us the third largest issuer of sovereign green bonds anywhere in the world. London last week was named the best place in the world for green finance. And on Monday, the new UK Infrastructure Bank announced its first ever investment, £107 million to support offshore wind in Teesside. And to build on this work, 1 week today, I'll be hosting global finance ministers and businesses at COP26. And Madam Deputy Speaker, innovation comes from the imagination, drive, and risk-taking of business. That's why we've launched Help to Grow to turbocharge SME productivity, started a new co-investment venture capital fund, Future Fund Breakthrough. It's why I'm announcing today we will consult on further changes to the regulatory charge cap for pension schemes, unlocking institutional investment whilst protecting savers. It's why we're introducing a new £1.4 billion Global Britain Investment Fund, supporting transformative economic activity and our world-leading sectors like life sciences. And it's why today's budget increases the British Business Bank's regional financing programs to £1.6 billion, expanding their coverage and helping innovative businesses get access to the finance they need across the whole United Kingdom. Madam Deputy Speaker, a third of our science Nobel laureates have been immigrants. Half of our fastest growing companies have a foreign-born founder. So an economy built on innovation must be open and attractive to the best and brightest minds. Thanks to our brilliant Home Secretary, today's budget confirms the eligibility criteria for our new scale-up visa, making it quicker and easier for the fast-growing businesses to bring in highly skilled individuals. And the Trade Secretary's new Global Talent Network, launching initially in the Bay Area, Boston and Bangalore, will identify, attract and relocate the best global talent in science and tech sectors, all part of our plan to make our visa system for international talent the most competitive in the world. Madam Deputy Speaker, if we want greater private sector innovation, we need to make our research and development tax reliefs fit for purpose. The latest figures show the UK has the second highest spending on R&D tax reliefs in the OECD, yet it's not working as well as it should. UK business investment in R&D is less than half the OECD average. We've reviewed the reliefs and identified two issues we are solving today. First, the reliefs need to reflect how businesses conduct research in the modern world. So, as many companies have called for, I'm expanding the scope of the reliefs to include cloud computing and data costs. The second problem is this. Companies claimed UK tax relief on £48 billion of R&D spending. Yet UK business investment was around half of that, at just £26 billion. We are subsidising billions of pounds of R&D that isn't even happening here in the United Kingdom. That's unfair on British taxpayers, and it puts us out of step with places like Australia, Canada, Hong Kong, Singapore, Switzerland, and the USA, who have all focused their R&D tax reliefs on domestic activity. So from April 2023, we are going to do the same and incentivise greater investment here at home. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, £22 billion investment in R&D, the net zero strategy, the Future Fund, Help to Grow, more regional finance, unlocking institutional capital, a more competitive visa system, and a modernised R&D tax credits regime. Enough action to prove the hypothesis: we are making this country a science and technology superpower. And Madam Deputy Speaker, as well as investing in infrastructure and innovation, there is one further part of our plan for growth that is crucial: providing a world-class education to all our people. Higher skills lead to higher regional productivity, and higher productivity leads to higher wages. With 80% of the UK's 2030 workforce already in work, our future success depends not just on the schooling we give our children, but the lifelong learning we offer to adults. We've already done a lot. Our plan for jobs invested in apprenticeships, traineeships, and the Kickstart scheme, but we need to go further. Today's budget invests in the most wide-ranging skills agenda this country has seen in decades. We are increasing skills spending over the Parliament by £3.8 billion, an increase of 42%. We're expanding T-levels, building institutes of technology, rolling out the Prime Minister's Lifetime Skills Guarantee, upgrading our FE college estate, quadrupling the number of places on skills boot camps, and significantly increasing funding for apprenticeships. We are also going to tackle a tragic fact. Millions of adults in our country have numeracy skills lower than those expected of a 9-year-old. According to the leading charity, National Numeracy, this costs individuals with poor numeracy up to £1,600 a year in lost earnings. People with poor numeracy skills are more than twice as likely to be unemployed as their peers. So today, I can announce a new UK-wide numeracy programme, Multiply. With £560 million, Multiply will improve basic math skills and help to change people's lives across the whole United Kingdom. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, we're building our infrastructure with new roads, railways, and broadband, cementing our status as a science and technology superpower, and strengthening the skills of our people, the country's greatest asset. That is a real plan for growth, and that's how this government is building a stronger economy for the British people. Madam Deputy Speaker, world-class public services are the people's priority. Investment in infrastructure, innovation, and skills will create the growth that we need to pay for them. But as Conservatives, we know that government action alone won't be enough to create a stronger economy. We want this country to be the most exciting and dynamic place in the world for business. And now that we've left the EU, we have the freedom to do things differently and deliver a simpler, fairer tax system. I want to begin with one of our smallest taxes, but a tax which plays an important role in one of our preeminent industries, shipping. Now that we've left the EU, today we start reforming our tonnage tax regime to make it simpler and more competitive. And we're also making it fairer for UK taxpayers. When we were in the old EU system, ships in the tonnage tax regime were required to fly the flag of an EU state. But that doesn't make sense for an independent nation. So I can announce today that our tonnage tax will, for the first time ever, reward companies for adopting the UK merchant shipping flag, the red ensign. That is entirely fitting for a country with such a proud maritime history as ours. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I am sure the opposition will be delighted that red flags are still flying somewhere in this country, even if they are all at sea. Let me turn now to air passenger duty. Right now, people pay more for return flights with and between the four nations of the United Kingdom than they do when flying home from abroad. We used to have a return leg exemption for domestic flights, but were required to remove it in 2001. But today, I can announce that flights between airports in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland will, from April 2023, be subject to a new, lower rate of air passenger duty. This will help cut the cost of living, with 9 million passengers seeing their duty cut by half. It will bring people together across the United Kingdom. And because they tend to have a greater proportion of domestic passengers, it is a boost to regional airports like Aberdeen, Belfast, Inverness, and Southampton. Airports are major regional employers. So to help them get through the winter, I'm also extending our support for English airports for a further 6 months. We're also making changes to reduce carbon emissions from aviation. Most emissions come from international rather than domestic aviation. So we are introducing from April 2023 a new ultra-long-haul band in air passenger duty covering flights of over 5,500 miles with an economy rate of £91. Less than 5% of passengers will pay more, but those who fly furthest will pay the most. Madam Deputy Speaker, our approach to corporate taxation strikes a responsible balance between funding public services and encouraging the investment we need for a stronger economy. At the March budget, we took the difficult but necessary decision to increase the rate of corporation tax to 25% from 2023. Still, the lowest rate in the G7 and the 5th lowest rate in the G20. Alongside, I introduced the new super deduction, the biggest business tax cut in modern British history, and extended to the end of this year the annual investment allowance at its higher level of £1 million. Now is not the time to remove tax breaks on investment, so I can confirm today that the £1 million annual investment allowance will not end in December as planned. It will be extended all the way to March 2023. I also said in March that I would review the bank surcharge within corporation tax to maintain the competitiveness of our financial services industry. We will retain a surcharge of 3%. The overall rate for corporation tax on banks will, in 2023, increase from 27% to 28%, and will remain higher than the rate paid by other companies. Small challenger banks are improving banking competition, which is good for the sector and good for consumers. So to help them, I will also raise the annual allowance to £100 million. Madam Deputy Speaker, our manifesto promised to review business rates. We're publishing our conclusions today. But before I set out our plans, let me say this. We on this side of the House are clear that reckless, unfunded promises to abolish a tax which raises £25 billion every year are completely irresponsible. It would be wrong to find £25 billion a year in extra borrowing, cuts to public services, or tax rises elsewhere. So we will retain business rates, but with key reforms to ease the burden and create stronger high streets. First, we will make the business rate system fairer and timelier, with more frequent revaluations every 3 years. The new revaluation cycle will be delivered from 2023. Second, as called for by the Federation of Small Business and the British Property Federation, we're introducing a new investment relief to encourage businesses to adopt green technologies like solar panels. And I'm announcing today that we'll accept the CBI and the British Retail Consortium's recommendation to introduce a new business rates improvement relief. From 2023, every single business will be able to make property improvements, and for 12 months, pay no extra business rates. That means a hotel adding extra rooms, a manufacturer expanding their factory, an office adding new air conditioning, CCTV, or bike shelters will all pay no extra rates. Together with the new green investment relief, we're introducing investment incentives totaling £750 million. This will make a difference, but without action, millions of businesses would see their tax bills going up next year because of inflation. I want to help those businesses right now. So our third step is that next year's planned increase in the multiplier will be cancelled. That's a tax cut for businesses worth over the next 5 years, £4.6 billion. And I have one final measure to help those businesses hardest hit by the pandemic. I'm announcing today, for 1 year, a new 50% business rates discount for businesses in the retail, hospitality, and leisure sectors. Pubs, music venues, cinemas, restaurants, hotels, theatres, and gyms. Any eligible business can claim a discount on their bills of 50% up to a maximum of £110,000. That is a business tax cut worth almost £1.7 billion. Together with small business rate relief, this means that over 90% of all retail, hospitality, and leisure businesses will see a discount of at least 50%. Apart from the COVID reliefs, this is the biggest single-year tax cut to business rates in over 30 years. Madam Deputy Speaker, taken together, today's budget cuts business rates by £7 billion. Madam Deputy Speaker, we are unleashing the dynamism and creativity of British businesses with a simpler, fairer, and more competitive tax system. The biggest business tax cut in modern British history, the biggest single-year tax cut to business rates for 30 years, £1 million investment allowance, tonnage tax reformed, air passenger duty cut. That is the way to back business and build a stronger economy. Madam Deputy Speaker, let me turn now to alcohol duties. First introduced in 1643 to help pay for the Civil War, our alcohol duty system is outdated, complex, and full of historical anomalies. The Institute of Fiscal Studies have called it, in their words, a mess. The Institute of Economic Affairs said it defies common sense. And the World Health Organization have warned that countries like the UK, which follow the EU rules, are, and I quote, unable to implement tax systems that are optimal from the perspective of public health. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, today we are taking advantage of leaving the EU to announce the most radical simplification of alcohol duties for over 140 years. We are taking 5 steps today to create a system that is simpler, fairer, and healthier. First, to radically simplify the system, we are slashing the number of main duty rates from 15 to just 6. Our new system will be designed around a common sense principle. The stronger the drink, the higher the rate. This means that some drinks, like stronger red wines, fortified wines, or high-strength white ciders, will see a small increase in their rates because they are currently undertaxed given their strength. That's the right thing to do, and it will help end the era of cheap, high-strength drinks which can harm public health and enable problem drinking. And because this is a more rational system, the converse is also true. Many lower alcohol drinks are currently overtaxed and have been for many decades. Rosé, fruit ciders, liqueurs, lower strength beers and wines, today's changes mean that they will pay less. The second step I'm taking today will encourage small, innovative craft producers. I'm announcing proposals for a new small producer relief. This will extend the principle of small brewers relief to include for the first time ever, small cider makers and other producers making alcoholic drinks of less than 8.5%. Third, I'm going to modernize the system to reflect the way that people drink today. Over the last decade, consumption of sparkling wines like Prosecco has doubled. English sparkling wine has increased almost tenfold. It's clear they are no longer the preserve of wealthy elites. And they are no stronger than still wines. So I'm going to end the irrational duty premium of 28% that they currently pay. Sparkling wines, wherever they are produced, will now pay the same duty as still wines of equivalent strength. And because growing conditions in the UK typically favour lower strength and sparkling wines, this means English and Welsh wines, compared with stronger imported wines, will now pay less. Sales of fruit cider have increased from 1 in 1,000 ciders sold in 2005 to 1 in 4 today. But they can pay 2 or 3 times as much duty as cider that is made with apples or pears. So we are cutting the duty on them too. The fourth step I'm taking today will directly support the home of British community life for centuries, our pubs. Even before the pandemic, pubs were struggling. Between 2000 and 2019, consumption in the on-trade fell by 40%. And many public health bodies recognise that pubs are often safer drinking environments than being at home. So, as the members for Dudley South and North West Durham will agree, a fairer, healthier system supports pubs. So I can announce today, draft relief. Draft relief will apply a new, lower rate of duty on draft beer and cider. It will apply to drinks served from draft containers over 40 litres. It will particularly benefit community pubs who do 75% of their trade on draft. And let me tell the House the new rate. Draft relief will cut duty by 5%. That is the biggest cut to cider duty since 1923. The biggest cut to fruit ciders in a generation. The biggest cut to beer duty for 50 years. This is not temporary. It's a long-term investment in British pubs of £100 million a year and a permanent cut in the cost of a pint of 3p. And I cannot wait, Madam Deputy Speaker, for the opposition to accuse me tomorrow of beer barrel politics. Madam Deputy Speaker, these much-needed reforms will come into effect in February 2023, but I want to help the hospitality industry right now. So for my final announcement on alcohol duties today, I can confirm that the planned increase in duty on spirits like Scotch whisky, wine, cider and beer will all, from midnight tonight, be cancelled. That's a tax cut worth £3 billion. Madam Deputy Speaker, our reforms make the alcohol duty system simpler, fairer and healthier. They help with the cost of living while tackling problem drinking. They support innovative entrepreneurs and craft producers. They back pubs and public health. And they are only possible because we've left the European Union. Madam Deputy Speaker, world-class public services, investment in infrastructure, innovation and skills, simpler, fairer taxes to support businesses and consumers, all built on the foundation of a stronger economy and responsible public finances. That is our vision for the future, and that is what this budget delivers. And this budget also supports working families. Madam Deputy Speaker, with fuel prices at the highest level in 8 years, I'm not prepared to add to the squeeze on families and small businesses. So I can confirm today the planned rise in fuel duty will be cancelled. That's a saving over the next 5 years of almost £8 billion. Compared to pre-2010 plans, today's freeze means the average tank of fuel will cost around £15 less per car, £30 less for vans, £130 less for HGVs. After 12 consecutive years of frozen rates, the average car driver will now save a total of £1,900. Madam Deputy Speaker, I can also announce today that public sector workers will see fair and affordable pay rises across the whole spending review period as we return to the normal, independent pay setting process. And I can take action to help the lowest paid as well. It was a Conservative government that introduced the national living wage in 2016. A Conservative government that, according to statistics published just yesterday, has overseen the proportion of people in low-paid work falling to its lowest level since 1997. And it is a Conservative government that is increasing the wage floor again today. The Independent Low Pay Commission brings together economists, business groups, and trades unions. The government is accepting their recommendation to increase the national living wage next year by 6.6% to £9.50 an hour. For a full-time worker, that's a pay rise worth over £1,000. It will benefit over 2 million of the lowest paid workers in the country. It's broadly consistent with previous increases and keeps us on track for our target of 2/3 of median earnings by 2024. And it is a major commitment to the high wage, high skill, high productivity economy of the future. Madam Deputy Speaker, as we build this stronger economy, we're doing so at the end of an extraordinary 18 months. COVID wasn't just a public health challenge. It wasn't just an economic challenge. It was a moral challenge too. We had to show that we could pull together as a country, and we did. We had to put aside questions of ideology and orthodoxy to do whatever it took to care for our people and each other, and we did. There's a different kind of moral dimension to the economic challenge we face now. Last year, the state grew to be over half the size of the total economy. Taxes are rising to their highest level as a percentage of GDP since the 1950s. I don't like it, but I cannot apologize for it. It is the result of the unprecedented crisis we faced and the extraordinary action we took in response. But now we have a choice. Do we want to live in a country where the response to every question is what is the government going to do about it? Where every time prices rise, every time a company gets in trouble, every time some new challenge emerges, the answer is always the taxpayer must pay? Or do we choose to recognize that government has limits? Government should have limits. If this seems a controversial statement to make, then I'm all the more glad for saying it, because that means it needed saying, and it is what we believe. There is a reason we talk about the importance of family, community, and personal responsibility, not because these are an alternative to the market or the state. It's because they are more important than the market or the state. The moments that make life worth living aren't created by government, aren't announced by government, aren't granted by government. They come from us as people, our choices, our sacrifices, our efforts. And we believe people should keep more of the rewards of those efforts. Yes, we've taken some corrective action to fund the NHS and get our debt under control. But as we look towards the future, I want to say this simple thing to the House and the British people. My goal is to reduce taxes. By the end of this Parliament, I want taxes to be going down, not up. I want this to be a society that rewards energy, ingenuity, and inventiveness. A society that rewards work. That is what we believe on this side of the House. That is my mission over the remainder of this Parliament. And the final announcement in today's budget takes a first step. Madam Deputy Speaker, for many of the lowest paid in society, there is a hidden tax on work. The universal credit taper withdraws support as people work more hours. The rate is currently 63%. So for every £1 someone earns, their universal credit is reduced by 63p. Let us be in no doubt, this is a tax on work, and a high rate of tax at that. Organisations as varied as the Trades Union Congress, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, the Resolution Foundation, the Centre for Policy Studies, and the Centre for Social Justice have all said it is too high. So, to make sure work pays and help some of the lowest income families in our country keep more of their hard-earned money, I have decided to cut this rate, not by 1%, not by 2%, but by 8%. This is a tax on working people, and we are cutting it from 63 to 55%. The rate originally envisaged by my right honourable friend, the member for Chingford. And because I'm also increasing the work allowances by £500, this is a tax cut next year worth over £2 billion. Nearly 2 million families will keep on average an extra £1,000 a year. Changes like this normally take effect at the start of the new tax year in April. But we want to help people right now. So we will introduce this within weeks and no later than December the 1st. Let me tell the House what these changes mean. A single mother of two renting and working full-time on the national living wage will be better off by around £1,200. A couple renting a home with their two children, one working full-time, the other working part-time, will be better off every single year by £1,800. This is a £2 billion tax cut for the lowest paid workers in our country. It supports working families, it helps with the cost of living, and it rewards work. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, fuel duty cut, air passenger duty cut, alcohol duty cut, the biggest cut to business rates in 30 years. Growth up, jobs up, wages up, public finances back in a better place, more investment in infrastructure, innovation and skills, a pay rise for over 2 million people and a £2 billion tax cut for the lowest paid. This budget helps with the cost of living. This budget levels up to a higher wage, higher skill, higher productivity economy. This budget builds a stronger economy for the British people, and I commend it to the House.
Well, there's the applause from the Conservative benches there for Rishi Sunak.
Okay, well, as I said, we're about half an hour to 45 minutes this will take in terms of the budget or so. I was there, only about an hour. So, right, okay. Let's go through initial reactions to begin with. Rachel, do you want to start off with just a quick summary of what you think's going on and And let's go for your initial reaction. Go for it.
I have at the top of my screen key
You're on mute.
points.
You're on mute.
Oh.
No, I can hear.
I don't think I am on mute.
I can hear.
Oh, sorry, it was me. Not me anymore. Go for it.
I have on my key points: growth up, jobs up, debt down, and Rishi loves a rosé.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
I was going to say, it wasn't what we were expecting, was it? Let's be honest. It was completely.
There was lots of stuff not there, not huge changes. I think really R&D investments and cash increases is amazing, and actually, I don't think any of us called that one. And the minimum wage increase, which is really, really cool. I think the universal credit changes is really, really positive. I, as an employer, have been frustrated by that quite a lot of the time. I actually used to work in the healthcare sector, and we used to have people kind of requesting, they were playing limbo with their hours, because we really saw people, that were on sort of national living wage pay grades really heavily impacted by that. And so that's, I think, a really positive change for the economy. But there was lots of things not there that we were expecting to see.
Definitely. And I think that's a confusing bit. Lucy, what's your initial reactions to it? Go for it.
Yeah, so I think it was overall very positive. There were things that completely, I wasn't even thinking about there was like a whole section on alcohol, which just came out of the blue. But yeah, it was interesting.
The alcohol thing was really, really positive, not as an accountant, just as a member of society. I think that is really, really positive. Firstly, I'm teetotal, so so I think it's amazing. But also, on a serious level, very strong, cheap alcohol causes quite significant problems for the economy. And actually, the overtaxing of low alcohol, maybe healthier and up and coming products is also, I think that'll really even things out. And it's taxing higher alcohol levels, which is really appropriate and is how it should always have been done. So it's really, really positive to see that come.
I agree. It's like the sugar tax. You should do the same with alcohol, in my opinion. So I thought it was really positive. What did you think, Aaron?
Well, first of all, on the other thing I loved about the alcohol bit was the fact that it's giving us back that micro brewery and the small business, and because there are so much, there's such an amazing community there, and they're doing it for the good things, and they were getting hammered. So I'm just so glad that they've been kind of looked at. But for me, my biggest reaction to this was, okay, right, this sounds great, this sounds fantastic, this sounds promising, it all was, but how are we going to pay for it all? And I just, in my back of my mind, I was expecting this left field tax figure or tax rise that I never thought was going to come, I never thought was available, and in fairness it didn't. So it's a positive step, and there's that pledge at the end that towards the end they do want to see that taxes themselves are going to come down, which is great.
I thought he was gearing us up to short-term increase them, though. I literally thought he was grooming us to be long-term, but short-term we're going to hit this.
Yeah, because in the last budget, my prediction was that they were going to increase VAT, because for me it was kind of one of those things where we've all got to pay back the pandemic one way, so 22% VAT or something daft like that. That's what I was I was expecting, and I had this horrible feeling in my stomach at one point going, we've not seen this coming, but there's something big on its way. But thankfully it's not. So
I think maybe they've just acknowledged at this point that fiscal spending is more important long term than taxing people in the short term, and the priority actually for the next 12 months is to get the economy moving, get people spending. They've removed the air passenger duty to just really encourage people to actually spend their money, and that'll do long term. That'll bring far greater benefit than actually increasing short-term taxes, because if we get people spending and we increase the demand, the supply will follow, and we will get there. I think we were actually messaging the three of us offline saying but where's the money coming from?
And thankfully nothing happened. So let's do a really quick recap though. To be fair, the beauty of this is that there's not that many elements that we need to worry about too much from in terms
I
of
actually
going to
made
affect.
a note
Go for it.
to say
Go
that
for
the
it.
multiply scheme sounds like Ed Sheeran's next album.
Just because he's run out of what he's got to do, so multiply scheme's got to be next. I love it.
Brilliant.
Really quick recap there. I mean, the first half of it, and it's probably the bit that I forgot about in terms of just kind of thinking back of it. But we always go through a whole stage of patting on the back of what's happened, what's gone well, and that's fair enough. That always happens. We explain what's going through. I thought it was curious that they're having a vote that's basically a one-way vote. I thought that was I'm not sure why. Let's give the House of Parliament an opportunity to have a vote, but there's only one answer that you're ever going to go for. So I thought that's quite curious. Curiously, HS2 completely got ignored, but I assume that means it's dead in the water. But that's fair enough. That's what's going to happen there. And then we started after going through all of the talking about family hubs, which I think is absolutely amazing. The Start for Life scheme, that sounds absolutely brilliant. I think that's definitely the way we should be pushing in terms of trying to improve in that area. And I think that's going to be fantastic. 180,000 new houses, all these sort of scheme. Well, it's got to be more than that, isn't it? 180 doesn't sound enough, but anyway, whatever numbers they came up with. But basically, when it came down to the taxes side of things, my first tax element that I came to was trying to give that extension to the reliefs available to the the industry in terms of why is my brain gone dead? To
Hospitality?
gyms, hospitality, exactly. Yeah.
Retail and hospitality.
Yeah.
Was that the 50% on, was it business rates?
Business rates.
Yeah, exactly. And the extent to it. And I think that's brilliant, isn't it? I mean, we've all got clients, I assume, that's been hit by it and hard hit by it and still struggling with it. So it was the right call to make. What do you guys think to that then?
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. I was really happy about that. It will definitely help a lot of people. And it included quite a lot. It's like the hospitality sector, retail. Obviously, you've got like the theatres and leisure, and your gyms and things like that. So, yeah, I thought that was a really good little thing to do.
And gyms as well, wasn't it? I think I heard as well. So that's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, fantastic. Then after that, one that I was absolutely ecstatic for was the update to R&D. So anyone who's not 100% aware, R&D is basically, in a really simple term, if you have come up with a really clever idea as a business, there are tax reliefs available to you, and they're really fantastic tax reliefs. The one frustrating thing that's always been, though, that if you decide to make like an app or something, for people who aren't fully aware, that when you build an app, most of that cost is about Amazon or whoever it is who's storing all that data for you, charging you for the use of their services to host the app and keep it up there. And before, you weren't allowed to claim for that. So that small change, that one word kind of element from there, I know personally from a lot of our clients who are, that's can be majority of their costs sometimes. So the fact that we're able to bring that into play and bring that there, and these days, an app. Bringing an app into play and creating a brand new app is actually a really good way of kind of qualifying for R&D and bringing it in. And I think that's a fantastic move. Is that something that can affect any of your clients that any of you guys have got? Or
yes,
I
we
thought
quite
it
a
was
lot
a
of
great
R&D.
Yeah, same. I thought obviously moving it to a cloud, allowing cloud like computing and data under it is fantastic change, and I think it was needed. It's a more modern approach, I think. So.
Exactly, 21st century approach, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rachel.
Yeah, I think within that budget was so focused on moving forward as an economy, but also for the environment as well. And I think that encouraging people to adopt cloud technology with a financial benefit in terms of their business is also huge. But then we also saw that with the business rates improvement relief. So any property improvements, you'll pay no extra business rates for 12 months on the improvements that you add on, which is incredible. So I think they are really focusing on like structural and environmental improvements across the board.
Yeah, and something as simple as that can make the decision so much easier for business as well, in terms of
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've been having this conversation with clients about, is now the right time to invest and everything else, and now they've got the relief. Like you've already said, it's about encouraging the spending, isn't it? It's about trying to bring that in, and I think those clever ways like that to do it, I think is really encouraging it, and I think it gives them a bit more confidence in terms of, for us as advisors and trying to help our business and everything else, to give them options that they may not have considered before, and it starts brewing those sort of ideas, doesn't it? Which is all we're all for. Then we went on to the multiplier, which I think is great, and then the shipping one. I must admit I was a bit. I don't think I was ever aware that there was another issue there, but this idea that now if you fly the red flag, then you've got the opportunity to have a lower rate. Completely out of my head.
It went over my head too. Like Lucy was laughing, and I was like, haha, I don't get it.
I thought it's brilliant.
I mean, you did mention it was a very small percentage that it's going to affect, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
And I've got a feeling more than anything, it's kind of that pride, isn't it? Sense of independence and pride and everything else that goes with it. So fair enough. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's going to make a big difference. He did mention the fact that corporation tax, and when he started talking about corporation tax, I was very, very worried that was kind of where this was going. It's like, well, we said it was 25%. Now we're at 35% or whatever it's going to go for. But thankfully, that's going there. A great point there by Lisa, though. I'm hoping the tax credit will also be available for small scientific laboratories. And to be fair, they should already be there. The biggest problem with R&D relief at the moment is just justifying costs. That's literally been the problem. We've been able to get through a lot of R&D elements through. But most of the time, if like you're working on your own and you've not got a cost associated with it, so you're not paying yourself a salary, them sort of things is normally the problem there. But yeah, hopefully fingers crossed on that one. The fantastic news.
Really
good. Sorry, what was that say?
AIA, really positive.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. That's brilliant. I mean, we love AIA. And for most of our clients, the £1 million limit wasn't, they were nowhere near that, or at least,
no one touching it.
But when you've got a group of clients, sometimes you can kind of have that. So yeah, no, let's keep that AIA for as long as we possibly can. I remember when, I think it was about 3 years ago, when the rumors were it's going to be abolished, it's all over, AIA's gone, and then they just went and upped it. So let's in terms of upping the allowance, so let's keep that there. So if you are looking to invest,
No, sorry, I was going to move on. I was just going to talk about the challenger banks. I really loved the reduction in corporation tax. Like, we as accountants have seen huge change within the accounting industry and the small business community by challenger banks coming in and offering some really incredible solutions to the market. So it's really lovely to see that be recognised and to sort of encourage them and the up and coming banks too to really get involved in that and to bring challenge to the banking market, because it's so refreshing to see the monopoly diminish. Is amazing.
Yeah, exactly right. You couldn't say it any better, because we're going to see bigger changes as well, aren't we, with MTD and everything else that's coming through. We're going to see the fact that actually, and when you look at yourself, I don't know if you've gone through the same process, but when you look at the challenger banks and what they've done for you individually in terms of making it so much easier to pay employees or whatever it is you need to do with your system, like, we need that innovation. We need those people to be pushing through, because it's just going to build it up. And the fact that they're giving that recognition, I mean, having that opportunity to have that lower rate is brilliant, isn't it? So Lucy, what do you think to the whole challenger banks? Have you kind of come across anything that's that you found really impressed with, or?
No, to be honest, no. I didn't take too much from that. I was more focused on no fuel rises.
Oh yes,
That was good. I thought, he just kind of snuck it in. I thought, no, I'm happy about that. We don't need any more of that.
Well, it's
and I thought it was really positive as well. About, he was saying about the visas for HGV drivers. So I thought that was good. Yeah,
it's kind of looked at the current issues, isn't it, and trying to bring them into the budget, which is fair enough. It's kind of, let's make sure we've got those done. And then he talked about the alcoholic relief and the amount of different changes he came through from there. Really was impressive, wasn't it, in terms of kind of, and again, I was aware that there was an issue because we do some work for kind of small craft beers and them sort of businesses. So I knew that they were struggling to, make sense of it all, especially if they're just coming into the industry and understand it. So simplifying it, giving them the option, and like we've already said, in terms of giving the option of there, I think that's going to be fantastic.
I think he definitely made it more available. Like he definitely simplified it. So he made it a lot better.
We might even be able to understand it now and be able to do cash flow forecast on it for once. It's kind of one of those things where you go, you'll be taxed what you taxed, and just go with it. So because it is so complicated what it was before. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's going to be an improvement going forward. Rachel, you've already touched on the last bit that I got down, which was that universal credit and the fact that good news all around really to everyone.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
I think that was really positive.
So the question is, what's happened to the rest of these? So capital gains, is that staying forever, or do we just defer that to March? I mean, what's everyone's kind of thoughts about what we thought? National minimum wage was increased, or was it national living wage? I think I missed that bit. Let me just make sure.
It was national minimum wage.
It was minimum wage, went from £8.91 to £9.50 from the 1st of April 22. So 6.6% increase.
There was something about the living wage as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think, but it's actually only
said about it.
So I think it was the rumours where it was going to be living wages increase, but it actually wasn't. It's actually just minimum wage. So on a minimum wage of £9.50 an hour, that would mean your annual salary is £19,760, which to just have a minimum wage in this country that's literally topping 20k is incredible. It's really, really amazing. And the only thing I can touch on with capital gains is maybe they're using it as an opportunity to really get like the housing market moving again, and to get people kind of making better decisions and feeling comfortable knowing the impacts of those decisions, rather than putting more pressure on a housing market. Because can you imagine if like any change in capital gains tax causes like people to make a decision one way or the other to either stick or twist, and actually we just need to get things moving in a way that people feel confident doing it. So maybe that's all I can think of.
But I think the thing that would have happened, I think you'd have seen a big influx of people selling though, wouldn't you? So I suppose that's why I thought they were going for, was in terms of like, we'll give them till April or whatever the date was going to be, and then try and the opportunity then might have been to flood the market. I suppose the national minimum wage one for me is still, I'm still stuck between, yes, it's amazing that we can get there and everything else, but for small businesses, it just, I know from some small business that we work for where they just can't afford to bring anyone in because there's no way they can justify that sort of wage.
But do you not think that by increasing the minimum wage, but investing hugely into apprenticeships and kickstart schemes, they're trying to force small business owners to not just hire staff, but to really take staff in, train them, put them on traineeships, apprenticeships, the kickstart scheme to mentor them and guide them, rather than just employing people. We're becoming active, like advocate employers. And I really think that's what they're trying to do, is just employing somebody costs you more now than actually putting somebody onto an apprenticeship scheme, where if you're a non-levy paying employer, you just have to contribute 5%. With every module they take and every bit of support and guidance they get, their value to you increases. You can also get a £3,000 lump sum just for taking the person on as well. So I am sponsored by the apprenticeship scheme, and I'm happy about it.
No, I completely agree what you're saying there, and you're right. There is that force into it, and that push in everything else, and I think for kind of our business, that's fine, and kind of for a lot of business out there, it'll be absolutely fine. It's just the butchers and the candlestick makers and those sort of ones. I mean, there's nothing they can do about it. But the amount of time I've taken on a client, and it's, they've had to fudge the wages because that's the only way they can figure out paying someone, national minimum wage, or they've had to force people onto self-employed, or then sort of horror stories that you hear. And but I think
we were looking at it yesterday, and I think this is because it was obviously leaked that that the change was going to go up to £9.50 from £8.91, and I think this is the first time in a really, really long time, if ever, that national minimum wage has been increased at a higher rate than inflation.
Yeah.
So I think it's increased at like 3.3%, and this has gone up by 6.6% increase. So it's amazing for the employees.
That is true. Yeah. And I suppose the other thing to people to be aware of, if you are listening to this, is the fact that, you know, it's that knock-on effect of the national minimum wage has gone up, so, you know, your next tier up of staff and everything else, you've just got to take into account that their you know, wages might have to increase as well to compensate, and there's all those sort of things to take into account. So I think there's going to be a lot of rebudgeting needed for next year, I think, in terms of what your expected salary costs are going to be to what it's more likely going to be after this announcement. But yeah, as Rachel rightly said, it is for the good, so it's just a case of us finding ways to make that work. What do you think, Lucy? Any insight or anything else you want to add to the national minimum wage element of it?
No, I think I agree with you. It will impact employers who do struggle already to pay it. But as Rachel pointed out, like it does incentivize you to go for people on apprenticeships and help them, which, you think about it, we all came from apprenticeships, so they're great. But yeah, it will be those smaller employers that do struggle with it. But it's great for employees as well. And I think it was definitely needed.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. Great point there, Lee said there was absolutely no mention, was there, of any of the other allowances or anything else. But it could be a fact. I mean, there was some numbers banded around in terms of increased support in certain sectors and everything else. So again, devil might be in the detail. There might be something that comes through that, you know, just didn't get told at the wage itself. So yeah, it's I'm happy with this budget overall. I think it's a very positive budget. I think that's the thing to take away from it. I'm just shocked there wasn't any big surprise there, but that's
I was expecting it at the end, the big, you know.
Oh, and one more thing at the end when he just
literally talks for ages, and then the last minute, by the way.
Exactly.
That's what I was expecting.
Exactly. And that question there from Elizabeth about if there's anything else to worry about the small business owner following the announcement. I think, unfortunately, it's watch this space for March by the looks of it. It almost seems like, and maybe I'm just completely reading between the lines, we're going to almost like a TikTok type of budget announcement where March is always going to be more, you know, bigger changes, more kind of big brow changes, give you more time. And then the, you know, in the autumn one, we're going to see more of a subtle change and a subtle kind of adjustment or tweaks to what was announced in March. I think that's probably where I think they kind of go from now, because it was always been very strange that we've had two budgets in a year anyway, wasn't it? So, you know, I mean, it gives us content, so we're not going to complain. But yeah, it has always been an odd one, especially when they U-turn on stuff that they announced in March, and then back in the autumn one they just don't, right, we'll U-turn that. So, okay, cool. Any final thoughts from anyone?
I just always want to know if there's someone like holding up a sign saying like cheer, boo, because they all just do it at the same time. It's really interesting. And it's just so much more comical than anything else in like British culture. Like nowhere else do people do that. It's like the Jerry Springer show. It's really confusing. Don't understand it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I must admit, this one I felt like had more jive,
more energy.
Yeah. And I just also don't understand, like, if you knew you were sat behind Rishi, like, why wouldn't you just put your mask on properly? Like, come on, like, surely your mum knows you're on the telly. Like, just wear the mask properly for her, at least. It's like they do it to just antagonize people, like, that are watching at home. It's really annoying.
I think we need to watch because obviously we were there talking about predictions and everything, which we got completely wrong, by the way. So
I think Lucy was the closest. I think Lucy won.
Yeah, Lucy wins the prize. But I wonder what the drama was, because at the very beginning of the speech, wasn't it? There was some sort of thing. So we'll figure that out. But yeah, that was an odd one, wasn't it? There was the bit there. So okay, well.
Also, go BBC for having a signer live. It was really good.
Yes, that was good, wasn't it? Yeah,
kind of forget she's there, but like you do see.
No, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was really, really, really good. Okay, so just quickly then before we go, anything we should be looking out for on your socials, YouTube, or anything like that? Lucy, do you want to go first? Anything that people should to look out for that they?
Well, I will be on Ask the Expert again next month, so watch out for that. You can find me on my socials, so it's just Islebookkeep on Instagram mainly, but Facebook as well. And you can find me on my website, and that's www.islebook-keep.co.uk. What about you, Rachel?
So we've actually got a Rishi and Rach budget announcement tomorrow coming out. So I'm totally not doing that this afternoon. Yes, just a summary for all of my clients, which will get emailed into everybody's inbox tomorrow morning, just to run through a bit of tumbleweed and some crickets. But really just run through exactly what the changes are, how we can support them, and exactly what the impacts of that are. I'm currently on a mission to hit 1,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm currently at 969. So I am we're getting there. I'm really excited. But it's all systems go. Aaron and I have some really, really exciting plans for the Going Concern season 2, which is occupying quite a lot of my brain space at the moment, because I keep just thinking of new, fun, special, engaging ideas that really just make this a bigger, bolder, brighter community. What about you, Aaron?
So Tuesday we have a big change in the way that QuickBooks works in terms of their banking reconciliation. Doesn't get more exciting than that, does it? It really does not get more exciting than that. So I highly recommend that you keep an eye out for that one. And then I'm carrying on these vlog, day in the life of, week in the life of, whatever we want to call them. Yeah, we're carrying them going. They're hit and miss, but we'll get there. We'll figure it out. We'll find some cadence at some point. And
I actually on QuickBooks as well. I opened my phone this morning. And somebody was in the QuickBooks support group saying that they felt suicidal because QuickBooks Desktop was being removed, and Aaron had to sort of massage them and make sure they were okay, talk them down from the cliff, and tell them that he was bringing out some content to help convert people from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. So that was by 9 o'clock this morning.
It's tough times in our community at the moment. Tough times, you know.
It's a difficult day.
Those desktop users. Wonderful. Well, it's just a thank you for both of you for coming along. I mean, I've really enjoyed this. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to do this again March time. Although hopefully it doesn't clash with any of the other ones. I don't know if you remember last time, but the March one clashed directly with QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Connect. So fingers crossed none of that happens next time. But yes, I would love you guys to come along for the next one.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
We'll be there. Thanks.
Brilliant, everyone. Thank you for each and every one that has watched as well. If you have any further questions, don't forget to reach out to us. You know how to get in contact with all of us. We'll make sure social links and all that lot are down below anyway. So from us, thank you very much. We will see you all soon for the next live talk over something. I'm sure we'll figure something out.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.